Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to take a look at how Trump is behaving towards both Canada and Ukraine and how it could result in America, far from being able to challenge China on the development of new tech, which is what Trump wants, actually falling even further behind as he chokes off two major supplies of raw materials. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So I saw reports at the weekend that Trump's officials were furious with Zelensky for Friday's debacle because he didn't take their advice. I thought, well, what advice is this? Were they, as Lindsey Graham is reported to have done, advised him to stay calm and not say anything to antagonise or contradict Trump? Were they mad because he took Vance's bait? Not that this would have made any difference. Trump and Vance seemed hell-bent on trashing those proceedings. But no, that wasn't the advice. It has emerged that the advice they gave him was to not bring up security guarantees with the mineral discussions because those would be negotiated later. This is the dumbest thing I've heard. And I've heard some pretty dumb things. So let's do a proof by contradiction. Let's go to the old maths methods here. So let's assume that these Trump officials know what they're talking about and see how it works out. So Zelensky signed the mineral deal on Friday, right? Which includes no security guarantees. So then it comes time to negotiate these security guarantees. Okay, so as in all negotiations, both sides put forward what they want and what they will give in return. You have a bit of to and fro and you arrive somewhere acceptable to both sides, right? Zelensky wants security guarantees from Trump. So what does Zelensky offer Trump in return? What? He's already signed away his country's mineral rights, if he did as the Trump officials advised. What's left to offer? These really are the thickest, most disingenuous people mucking about in the White House at a terrible time for America to be run by their village idiots. No mineral rights are part of the same negotiation as security guarantees because they're linked. The mineral rights are what America wants. The security guarantees are what Ukraine wants. But in conjunction with Trump's trade policy where Canada is concerned, America is setting itself on a course of overreach and getting nothing. And this is not what anyone other than Putin wants, of course. Remember, the mineral agreement, Trump saying it's his idea, it wasn't his idea. He never has ideas. That was Zelensky's idea in the first place. Ukraine and allied countries in Europe want the mineral deal to work. In Europe, we're working to get Trump his extortion deal. But even mafia-style extortion gives you the promise of breathing for another day. This is what's missing from Trump's version of the deal. And it's all very well saying, unless Zelensky moves, he gets nothing. If Trump doesn't move, America gets nothing. Trump's ace card is to let Russia have a load of resources that America wants. Art of the deal, my big fat hairy ass. Now, onto the Canadian side of this loser gets nothing situation. So, although the trade war with Canada is sort of on hold, Trump is still pursuing those plans. From what I can see from reports, it's almost like Trump is mirroring Putin's strategies. His initial attack backfired, so he called a ceasefire. He's now working on trying again, later on, better prepared. The consequence of this, if it happens, would be pretty bad for Elon Musk, but also America's automotive industry in general. If Trump slaps massive tariffs on Canadian EVs, for example, Canada could tariff Teslas beyond the ability for most people to afford, let alone want to pay. Now, you might think in that scenario, no problem, Musk will just sell more in America to compensate because his imported competition will also be eliminated. Unfortunately, there's a few problems with this. First, the wider-ranging trade war will drive up prices on essentials for Americans, making a new car a lower priority for the American public. But there's a more serious problem. American car manufacturers get a couple of things from Canada, the first of which is components. Tariffs and possible Brexit-like delays on supplies would be horrendous for the car manufacturing industry in America, whose prices would have to go up sharply, just as happened in Britain the past few years. And it's even feasible, if it is even feasible, I should say, for America to say fill the gaps in the supply chain. Oh, we'll just have factories that make those components in America then. Okay, so let's say that could happen, right? It would definitely take years, but the impact of the tariffs would be overnight. But the second problem is raw materials. See, never mind just components. The minerals that these components are made of are mined in Canada. Even if American factories could start to produce more of their own components commercially, taking some time to get up to speed, they can't magic up the raw minerals. If there are trade barriers raised with Canada, there will be cost and supply problems. No problem, some MAGA enthusiasts might have imagined. We'll be getting them from Ukraine instead. We could still stick two fingers up at Canada. Oh dear, not quite sure how to break this to you. But Trump and Vance last Friday, instead of offering Zelensky a deal whereby he gave lucrative mining rights to America, as well as rebuilding rights, in return for a tiny, tiny contribution from the American defence budget, decided to create a confected row instead. Because never mind what Zelensky should and should not have done, America had a brilliant deal on the table. Trump, like the bully he is, had actually gotten Ukraine in the position whereby it was willing to give America access to hundreds of billions of dollars worth of minerals in return for just, what, a few tens of billions of dollars in military support? Deal of the century. And all because Trump has this transactional mindset rather than any interest in common alliances. And yet Trump pissed it all away because he didn't even want to contribute to the small cost of the security that Ukraine needs, and you would think American mining corporations need. Imagine being an art collector. You're at a sale. You recognise a piece as being worth $10,000, but the asking price is just $1,000. Oh, you'd pay it in a heartbeat, wouldn't you? But Trump is walking away because the seller wouldn't give it to him for nothing. Ukraine cannot sign something which gives away anything without assurance that it remains theirs to give away in the future. That's obvious. The only way Trump gets his mineral deal is if he agrees to help Ukraine secure its future. And it's in America's interest that this happens because they don't want to have a vital supply of minerals, whether rare earths or just coal, whatever they're really after, disrupted by waves of invasions from Russia. And if he's worried about how those sanctions are impacting the money he has tied up in Russia, well, the sooner Russia is stopped from invading Europe, the sooner relations will get back on a diplomatic footing and sanctions can be eased. Trump's line here is to provoke a sustained war. Now, he and his tanky buddies over here are trying to claim that it is Europe provoking never-ending conflict. But if Russia stops invading people, there is no conflict. Everyone else seems to have done their fighting in Europe now. A combination of NATO and the EU have actually brought peace to the continent for the first time in literally human history. It's now only Russia causing grief. Trump likes walls, doesn't he? Build a defensive wall across Eastern Europe and the war ends forever. Economies can recover, including Russia's economy, and we can all be friends again. But Trump's plan is to give Russia breathing space to go again later, and then again, and again. And it makes no difference whether Trump helps Russia win total victory or not. The time it will take will drag on and on, because if Ukrainians stop fighting, there is no Ukraine anymore. So that fight will go on for as long as there are Ukrainians to fight it. But if Trump recognises that a deal with security included is a great deal for America, even in isolation, but that it would then also get a peaceful Europe, which are the biggest importers of American goods and services, and he even gains access to the West's most skilled combat-ready military in future alliances from Ukraine. Absolutely insane what America is passing up on here for the sake of letting Kremlin stooges run their country. And Trump's tech bros could end up falling even further behind China if they lose out on those supplies of minerals from both Canada and Ukraine by adopting the trading tactics of a man who may actually have the world record for most businesses going bankrupt. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.